I'm here this afternoon with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, retired. Thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule today to meet with me before your meeting tonight. We're in a theater, as they're seeing behind you, the lights of the stairs going up. It's going to be a full house tonight. People are excited that you're here in Texas and telling us some about your book as well as
just a little bit about what's going on in the world today. So it's really it's an exciting time for our country. It's an exciting time for me personally, and I think for your listeners out there, I think it's a really important time for all of us to reflect on what's going on around us in our communities, local, state communities, and certainly what's going on in our country, because there's something happening in our country, and it's been happening for a while, and I think we need to understand it better, because we should not be afraid of who we are as Americans.
Oh, so true, so true. One of the things I'd like to ask you, because of your military background, is how seriously is our military taking the advancing of ISIS through Europe and potentially into America?
Yeah, I would say that our military and our intelligence community are certainly paying very close attention to it, because typically our military, especially our military, is always the ones asked to respond to it in some way overseas, and then certainly our police officers, our first responders here at home, our law enforcement community, those that represent our rule of law in this country, are having to respond to it as well.
Yeah.
Because it is growing and expanding around the world. This cancer that we define, I describe as radical
Great description.
Islamism.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a form of cancer that has metastasized beyond where we originally found it, or where it originally came out of, which is places like Afghanistan and Iraq and the Middle East. Now it's all over the place. I mean, in the last 45 days, we've seen attacks in 22 countries in the last 45 days alone.
Amazing.
So I mean, and they're vicious attacks. They're attacks with machetes, knives, trucks, bombs, rifles, pistols.
So their MO is anything.
It's attack those unbelievers like you and I.
Right.
People who are family members. I mean, one of the attacks was with a man wielding an axe on a train in Germany, and he went after a family of four, mother and father and their children, who were getting ready to go out on a holiday.
Oh my.
And they were taking the train, and the guy started whacking them with an axe, and he's shouting, Allahu Akbar, and he did it on behalf of the Islamic State. So, I mean, we cannot allow the world to have this type of enemy who just continues to get away with these kinds of vicious attacks, when we know this is an ideology that is part of a larger system, and the radicalized component of it. It's like the best way for people to understand it. It's like a cancer that has come onto your body, and it is a malignant type of cancer, and it is metastasizing and growing in scale and scope and sort of footprint on the body of the world, just like cancer grows sometimes on our own bodies. And I've dealt with that in my own life, so I know what it means. But I go and I understand the symptoms, and I go to the right doctor for the right solutions.
Exactly.
And that's sort of what we need right now.
Yeah. God forbid if it does come into our country. Is the military? True, it is here. But if it came on full force, like we're seeing in some of the European countries,
right.
How would our military respond? Is our military prepared to do something stateside?
Yeah, our military, we protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So that's kind of who we are. Our military serves, at basically the sort of the pleasure of the commander-in-chief, our president.
Yes.
And if we were to have even more serious issues in our country than we are already experiencing with some of these attacks like we saw in Orlando or we saw in San Bernardino,
Yes.
I am very, very confident in our law enforcement professionals as long as they have the resources and they have the leadership to be able to go after this threat that is posed in many places around our country. I mean, the director of the FBI said that there's cases that they're pursuing in all 50 states of the Islamic State. So, and that there's over or roughly 1,000 cases that are in play at some level across the whole of the United States. So the threat is here. You know, your question about our military participating in those, that's solely up to the President of the United States if the situation were to get that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that it doesn't get that bad. I hope
Me
that
too.
our law enforcement organizations are ready. I mean, I would say that our military capabilities are solid, but our military is not ready right now. Our military is not ready to deal with the range of threats that we have, and radical Islamism is one of those threats. We have many, many other threats that our country faces, and our military is not as ready as they can be. And a lot of that is both certainly on the direction that this White House has put them on, the path, and I also put a lot of that burden on Congress as well.
One of the rumors has been that potentially, even before Obama leaves office, we could be looking at martial law being put into play here in the United States. If something, I mean, beyond our wildest imagination happened and we ended up with martial law, how would the military interact? What would happen in regards to military?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would hope that would mean a significant, that would mean that a disaster that is unimaginable were to occur in the next few months. I mean, I really don't even want to think about that idea.
I agree.
I really don't want to think about it, and I don't think that anybody, and so I would be very careful about people spreading rumors or looking at, conspiracy theories and all these other things. I just be realistic and be practical and be thoughtful in how we talk about the challenges that our country faces. Okay? That's what we need to do. And I want to, let's not go down these hypothetical things that are out there that people I know talk about, and people people have come to me and asked me about this. And don't talk hypothetical. Talk about what is happening today. What do I believe? What I believe is our country is going down the wrong path. I believe that our country is going in the wrong direction. I am involved in the ways that I'm involved in. The book that we had recently published. It's a great book. Has a great message.
Look forward to reading it.
And it talks about one of the threats, but I encompass other aspects of that threat because I talk about some of the allies of radical Islamism, and to me, that's what we need to be talking about. That's what we need to be thinking about, and that's what we need to be doing something more about. Something that our current government, our current administration, I don't expect the current administration to make any significant changes to this lousy, poor strategy that we are executing. And I know that there's great frustration. There's great frustration in those who are out there having to execute this thing, like those in our military.
With your military background, having been a general, well, you're always a general, I guess, just retired. As a general, if you could command or give instructions to civilians today to protect and defend our country, what would you direct them to do?
Yeah, I would say, so I want to restate the question for you,
Okay,
because it's
all
not
right.
so much a general giving directions or orders to civilians.
Right.
It's what do we want the citizens, the patriots of the United States of America to do
Yes.
today? How
Yes.
do we want patriots, citizens to act? I'm an American citizen. I've been given a lot of grief for coming out of uniform and all of a sudden stepping into this frankly, and I'm going to be very blunt, this political cesspool that we see in our country today. And I've been given a lot of grief for that. And my first point is, when does a person stop being an American citizen? When does somebody do that? And you know, this is a really important election coming up.
Yes.
So my answer to your great question, it's really about patriotism, and it's about citizenry, American citizenry. How should we act as citizens? We should act just like the laws of our country state. So that means we're law-abiding citizens. We should work hard in this country, for this country. Everybody should serve in some capacity. People should serve. Now, you might serve your local community. You might, serve on a school board. You might
Yes.
serve in a Cub Scout or Girl Scout. I mean, whatever it is that you do, or you might decide you're going to go serve in the military. But whatever you do, serve this country. You may serve it through your church. Many people
True.
in this audience, you may serve it through your church by just acting as a money collector in the church on a Sunday. I mean, whatever you do, give back and keep giving back, because one of the most giving, in fact, the most giving country on the planet is the United States of America, because of American citizens. But one of the very specific things is participate in the election process, in the voting process. I mean, I spent nearly 3.5 decades in uniform. Many, many people have sacrificed their lives over the couple of 100+ years of our country to protect those rights that we have as
Yes.
citizens, that
Yes.
privilege. So many people have died to protect that privilege for people to go and vote. So go cast your vote when it's time to go vote. Make the decision of who you want to vote for, but
Be an informed voter
but
as
be
well.
an informed voter. Absolutely be an informed voter.
What are your greatest concerns in 3 different areas? One, in regards to our military, you were
Yep.
starting to touch on that you didn't feel like it was quite up to where it needs to be today.
Yeah, our military, our Army, well, I'll tell you, none of our military services are ready. They're not ready. They're not up to the level of readiness that they should be, and that's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, all of our major services, okay? They are, in terms of size, they're the smallest that they've ever been, in some cases
Yeah.
prior to World War II.
It's amazing.
Our Marine Corps, when I think about our Marine Corps, and our Marine Corps, I love our Marines, because if we get punched in the nose, one of the first forces that we send in is the Marines. And the Marines go back there and they strike back for us. They have to be ready all the time, and they have to be ready in a fairly significant capacity. What we have seen, particularly under this administration, is a constant whittling down of not only the size of our military, but also the capabilities and the readiness of our military. And it's terrible. Most people, and for this audience, most people think, oh, we spend too much money on the military. I mean, you know what? One of the number one thing that we spend money on in this country is health care.
Yes.
Health care. I mean, military spending is like number 5 or number 6 down. If you break up a dollar, it's way down. It's number 5 or number 6. It's
critically important, though.
It's super important. So in order to maintain peace, you must maintain defense. You
Yes.
must maintain a defensive capability. And so our country, the people of our country, have to decide on that. And so when we talk about, and last point on this too, be very careful about the lies that politicians will tell you.
Oh,
Because
yes.
politicians will lie to you, and they'll say, well, no, we're going to do this for our military, we're going to do that for our military. Well, why aren't you doing it now?
Good
Why
question.
didn't you do it when you were in?
Yeah.
When you were serving? And now I'm talking about one of the candidates running for president. And so, because I do believe in where, like Donald Trump's case, Donald Trump is laser focused on our national security.
Yes.
When he says make America safe again, this is about making sure that we not only say that we're the greatest military in the world, we actually can be the greatest military in the world. Because I'm telling you today, I love our military. I served in it. I served my adult life in it. But to sit here and say we have the greatest military in the world, we might have the most ethical, the most moral, the most values-based, the most standards-based military in the world. But I'm telling you, right now we're not ready. Our military's not ready.
Wow. You mentioned the political arena, and I know you have particular concerns about Hillary Clinton
Yeah.
being elected, as many do. What are some of your greatest concerns if she is elected president?
Well, that's another one of those sort of unimaginable things for me. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this is a person who doesn't know how to tell the truth. I mean, she just doesn't know she doesn't know the difference between a lie, flat out lie, and the truth. I mean, I would get an ear smack from my father if he thought I was even telling a little white lie, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that, first of all, she's been caught in multiple lies, publicly lying to the American public.
Yeah.
I mean, it just amazes to me that anybody, that anybody could stand up and vote for her, anybody could speak on her behalf. I mean, she not only lied, but she also placed our nation's, some of the most sensitive things that our nation is involved in, at risk by publicly exposing these.
Yeah.
Okay, so if she says, well, I didn't really know what I was doing, or, well then, and you want to be commander-in-chief?
Exactly.
I mean, so the human cost, the economic cost, and the adjustments now, the adjustments that we will have to make because of her exposure of highly classified, highly sensitive intelligence information that she exposed to our enemy is beyond the pale. It's absolutely, I mean, like I've said in other forums, if I did a tenth of that, I'd be in jail.
Yeah.
She has no accountability. She takes no responsibility. There's one thing I learned in the military, if you're a commander, you're in charge of something, whatever your unit does or doesn't do well, or what they do really well, you're accountable and you're responsible. If they screw something up, you take responsibility. She takes no responsibility. None. She takes no responsibility for this.
Now that she is the nominee for the Democratic Party, she's getting daily briefings on highly classified information. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, she
So
has
is that
the-
continuing to put everybody
Yeah,
and
one of the
everybody?
things that the nominees of the parties get now is these classified briefings on what's, basically what's going on around the world. And they're very highly classified. I don't know if she started getting them yet, but my recommendation is she should not touch classified information. She's already demonstrated that she is, according to the FBI director, extremely careless with classified information. And we still don't know the extent of the thousands, the tens of thousands of emails that are still unknown to even our own FBI because they were destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If I were boss for a day, king for a day, and I could
Yes,
touch my
yes.
nose, she wouldn't touch classified information again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally with you. In our closing couple of minutes we have, what would you like to share with my audience that you feel that they need to understand and know about what's going on in the world today?
Yeah, the world today is changing quite a bit. I mean, it's really changing. And there are the complexity of the world and all of the things that people, especially, depending on the, who's listening, what age you are, young kids are so involved in so many different things and in this world of technology, all these things. When you take it all in, it's hard to imagine where we might be in 20 years or 50 years, never mind just, in 3 or 4 months, in 3 months, for a national election.
Yeah.
And so what I would tell your audience is, I would tell your audience that you have to trust in your family. So you have to fall back on what's important to you. So if your church is important to you, if your family is important to you, if your livelihood, your job is important to you, then, do what you can do. Don't try, have all the discussions and the debates around the dinner table, or around the at the diner or something like that about, what we should do to solve, all the world's problems. But when it comes down to it, do your part wherever you are. And one of the things that you can do is you can get out and vote. This is not a presidential election to sit out.
Yeah.
And I'm adamant, get out and vote. We have everyone has faults. Everyone has, their own shortcomings. I mean, I got plenty of
Yes,
them. I made
yes.
many mistakes. And so what I look for is I look for what's in somebody's heart. I look for how they have acted over their whole lives. The whole, what encompasses a human being. you know,
Their character.
their character and and how they are speaking to America. And what I see today is I see somebody lying, and I see somebody who's not a politician. And this is Donald Trump. He's not a politician. Does he screw up things with some of the attacks he goes after? Absolutely. But what does he believe? He believes in this country.
Yes.
He's not doing this because Donald Trump needs a job like a lot of these politicians. He's doing this because he deeply, I know this, I'm telling you from my heart, he deeply, deeply, deeply cares about this country. Thank you.
General Flynn, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah.